Hi everyone, first YouTube video ever, so pray for your girl, all right? I want to talk about celibacy and my walk with celibacy, or in celibacy, whatever you want to call it, all right? First things first, I'm not a preacher or in seminary school, although my best friend is in seminary school, and you go girl, she's going to kill it. But I do quote scripture. I do walk with God. And that being said, God has called me not to pastor a church, right, or a flock at the church, but He has called me to share my experiences with the world. So here I am, all right? So I want to talk about 5 things that I have discovered through celibacy, all right? So first things first, I looked up the definition of celibacy just to be exactly clear, right? And so on Google, this is the first definition that popped up. It says celibacy is the state of abstaining from marriage and sexual relations. And I had to really think about that. Like, am I abstaining from marriage too? I am, because if you're abstaining from sex and, you know, we're supposed to wait for sex, right? Until after we get married, then I guess I'm abstaining from marriage too. Okay? So I'm with it. That's not the first thing that's on my mind. With my son's father, I actually wanted to marry him, which is like blowing my mind. I could not believe that I really wanted to marry that man. But, you know, marriage was like at the forefront at that time, but not anymore. Right now, I have some other things that I want to do in life, you know, before I get married. If I meet my husband along the way, and so be it. All right. But that's not my focus right now. So am I abstaining from it? Absolutely. So there's 5 things. All right. The first thing that I learned was that I can't play around with sex like I used to. And what I mean by that is I was okay with having casual sexual relationships, a friend with benefits, and so on, especially in my 20s. Didn't matter, right? Didn't matter if we were gonna, you know, be in a relationship or if you had a good job. I didn't care about any of that. All right. If you were cute, and I was attracted to you, and vice versa, you had something that I wanted, it was going down. All right. You know, that's just what it was in my 20s. And so I'm damn near 40. Well, I'll be 37 in April. But yeah, I'm damn near 40. So, I mean, I've learned a lot since then. I stayed celibate for 3 years, right? 2 of those years were forced. I say that because I was in a relationship with my son's father, and he just has some issues that he hasn't dealt with. And it manifested in the form of, you know, he couldn't perform in a relationship. He just could not perform. Couldn't perform in bed, couldn't perform in a relationship, period. And so I feel like I was forced because I definitely wanted to have sex. Trust me on that, all right? But for 2 years, we didn't, all right? So after he left, I was just sure that next person I came across, you know, we was gonna make up for lost time. Nope, I went a whole nother year without having sex. So it was 3 years total. And when I finally had sex with someone, right, I thought I could still do the whole casual sex thing that I did in my 20s, and no can do, all right? Me and that guy, we started to like each other, and I didn't want him to be a stepfather to my son. I didn't want him to be the father of my son, whatever you want to call it. I didn't really care for what he did for, you know, for a living. I mean, it was just too much. And so I remember thinking, like, I shouldn't have went here with him. No way. I shouldn't have did it like that. No way. And that's when I started to realize sex has really changed for me. It's really changed for me, and I cannot play with sex like the way that I used to. Okay? Can't play with it at all. All right? I know some of you have heard the term soul ties. That's a real thing. Your ties to each other are connected through your souls. After you have sex, you're sowing a seed. You are sowing a seed when you have sex with each other, okay? And it's not impossible, but it's one of the hardest things to break away from a person after you've had sex with them and been intimate with them, period. Using a condom or not, okay? Being real with you, being protected or not. You are sowing seeds, and you are connecting yourself with that person pretty much forever. And so it made me think about, like, what is this whole thing? Like, once I had sex with that dude after 3 years of not having sex, what is this? And it made me think about the definition of sex. So the definition of sex, I remember now, I actually knew this in my 20s. So it's your mind, your body, your soul. So I'm the girl, right? And I have my mind, my body, my soul, right? He's the guy. He brings his mind, his body, and his soul, right? And those are 3 things coming from me, 3 things coming from him. And when we come together, that's 6 elements being intertwined, right? So 6. I think it's Latin or Greek or something like that. Can't remember. But sex is also translated as the number 6, right? Like if a woman has sextuplets, she has 6 kids at once. So when you are having sex, those 6 elements are intertwining, and you guys are sharing those things, your mind, your body, and your soul. And I played with that way too much when I was in my 20s, and I refused to do it in my 30s. I refuse, because I'm so much more free in my 30s. Anyway, so moving on. Number 2, I have clarity in my spirit in all things, all right? I can clearly see what a man's intentions are, because sex is not on my mind. I'm trying to see where this man's heart where this man's heart is at, where his head is at, what his habits are. Like, I'm trying to figure out who he is. When I was younger, I didn't have clarity of those things because that's not what I was worried about, you know? But staying away from sex made me really start to evaluate the depth of a person, okay? Can't do that if your mind is clouded with sex and what they offer, you know, down there. So, number 3, it reduces the emotional and psychological challenges related to relationships that involve sex, okay? I know you guys have heard, you might have heard, you may not have heard, this term called dickmatized, right? It's really hypnotized, but you're hypnotized by the, you know, D-I-C-K. I've been there before. I've been there, and I don't want to be there again because I think that's a funny term that we use, but really and truly, you're enslaved by what just happened. You're enslaved by the feeling. And now you can't think of anything else. And who is he with? And what is he doing? And y'all ain't in no relationship. Y'all have not figured that out. Y'all came together saying, hey, this is what we finna do. No strings attached, da, da, da. But guess what? I'm attached. Let's just be real. I am attached now. And he's attached to me. Now, how that manifests or how that displays itself, okay, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different in how we do that. But I don't want to be enslaved to how that feels. And I'm not. When I'm celibate, I am not enslaved. I am not enslaved to, you know, what a man is doing, or, you know, gosh, he made me feel so good. So now, you know, I think I want to be in a relationship with him. No, we don't think the same. Number 1, he's probably thinking like, man, it ain't, on to the next. While I'm over here like, dang, that was amazing. I wonder if he could be, get it together. Get it together, okay? Stay away from sex. It really helps you figure out where you're going emotionally, okay? Psychologically. It really does help. Trust me on this, people. Number 4, my focus is better. I was able to get more done in that span of 3 years, or really that year, that last year, that 3rd year. Man, I was able to write a book. I was able to really, really focus on myself, focus on being a good mother, which is hard to do, right? Being a good parent is tough if you're going to be a good parent. And I was just able to get more done. I was able to get so much more done, figure out what I want to do with my life. I can't even sit here and tell you all the things I got done. All I can say is it frees my mind. Now my focus is number one on God, right? Number two, on other things that I need to achieve in life. Sex is going to be there. It's always going to be there. Okay? And number five, I was physically preserved. And to be honest with you, let me see. I had sex like 8 or 9 months ago. And I shouldn't have did that. So I'm actually going on another year of not having sex. And I love it. And it's had nothing to do with him. Physically, he was all right. But I get to physically preserve myself. Now I'm not attached. And now no one is attached to me. And I like to use this analogy. I like to treat my sexual organ like a car. The less miles I put on it, the better it will be in the long run. And I encourage you to look at it that way as well. There's just so many benefits. Of course, no pregnancies, no STDs. Of course, right? It's free. Staying away from sex is free. Can you believe that? Awesome, right? And I feel like when you do have sex with someone, you're paying a price. It may not be financially, but you're paying some kind of price. You're giving some of yourself up, and it's precious. Okay? Do I want to be married one day? Absolutely. But I'm not even talking to nobody right now. That will happen. That will happen. Sex needs to be put on the back burner, though. Okay? So number one, I know I've mentioned a lot of things. I wrote a book and I can focus and da-da-da. Number one, stay away from sex because you need to be chasing God, period. All right? Let me read this scripture to you. 1 Corinthians 7:32 through 34. I'm reading from the English Standard Version. It says, I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, but the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. And the unmarried or betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. And that's not condemning anyone who's married. That's just saying it's just natural to want to please your husband, your spouse. It's natural to want to please your wife. That's natural, okay? So when you're single, and right now my singleness is my ministry, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I do get to focus on God. I do get to walk with God. I do get to have an intimate relationship with God, right? And when I'm not having sex, God is just illuminated and magnified times a million, times of infinity. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I were focused on, having sex. And that's just what it is. So I encourage you to walk in celibacy, whether you're single or in a relationship or even married. I encourage you to abstain from sex, not necessarily for 3 years, just for a time period, just so you can get your mind right, because it does help. Just so you can get your heart right, your heart in the right place, because it does help. Trust me on this. God bless you all. Have a great day.